A century of contention, tracing the roots. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex and deeply rooted issue with a long history. It is rooted in competing claims to the same land and intertwined narratives of displacement and suffering. The Zionist movement, emerging in the late 19th century, sought a Jewish homeland in Palestine, then part of the Ottoman Empire. This aspiration clashed with the aspirations of the Arab population already residing in the region. Following World War I, the British Mandate for Palestine from 1920 to 1948 further complicated the situation. Jewish immigration to Palestine increased, leading to growing tensions with the Arab population. The 1947 UN Partition Plan, proposing the division of Palestine into independent Arab and Jewish states, was accepted by Jewish leaders but rejected by Arab leaders, further escalating the conflict. In 1948, Israel declared independence, triggering the First Arab-Israeli War. The war resulted in Israel's victory and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, which remains a core issue in the conflict. Subsequent wars in 1967 and 1973 further solidified Israel's control over the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. The Oslo Accords of the 1990s offered a glimmer of hope, establishing the Palestinian Authority and outlining a path to a two-state solution. However, the failure to resolve key issues like settlements, Jerusalem's status, and Palestinian refugees led to a stalemate. The collapse of the Camp David summit in 2000 and the subsequent Second Intifada marked a return to violence. From ceasefire to crisis navigating recent escalations, the Israel-Palestine conflict is marked by cycles of violence and temporary ceasefires. Recent years have witnessed a resurgence of tensions and a hardening of positions on both sides. The expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, considered illegal under international law, continues to fuel Palestinian anger and resentment. The situation in Gaza, governed by Hamas since 2007, remains precarious. Israel maintains a blockade on Gaza, citing security concerns. Militant groups in Gaza, including Hamas and Islamic Jihad, have launched rockets into Israel, prompting Israeli airstrikes in retaliation. These cycles of violence have resulted in civilian casualties on both sides, further deepening mistrust and animosity. The May 2021 escalation, triggered by unrest in Jerusalem, saw the heaviest fighting in years. The 11-day conflict resulted in hundreds of casualties, mostly Palestinian, and widespread destruction in Gaza. The conflict also witnessed a surge in intercommunal violence within Israel, highlighting the deep societal divisions. The failure of numerous peace initiatives and the lack of political will from both sides to engage in meaningful negotiations have contributed to the current impasse. The absence of a viable political horizon fuels despair and frustration, particularly among young Palestinians who see little hope for a peaceful future. Beyond the borders, global ramifications, and diplomatic deadlocks. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not confined to the region, it resonates globally. It is a major foreign policy challenge for world powers and a source of tension in international forums. The conflict often overshadows other regional issues and complicates diplomatic efforts to address broader Middle Eastern challenges. The issue deeply divides global public opinion, with strong views on both sides. It has become increasingly enmeshed in domestic politics in many countries. This polarization makes it challenging for international actors to mediate effectively or exert pressure for a resolution. The Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions (BDS) movement, advocating for economic and cultural pressure on Israel, has gained traction in recent years. Supporters view it as a non-violent means to pressure Israel to comply with international law. Opponents argue it is discriminatory and counterproductive to peace efforts. The International Criminal Court's decision to investigate potential war crimes committed in the Palestinian territories has further heightened tensions. Israel rejects the ICC's jurisdiction, arguing it is a politically motivated move. The ICC's investigation faces significant political and legal obstacles, and its outcome remains uncertain. Charting a path forward. Hope amidst uncertainty. The path to a just and lasting solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict remains elusive. The current impasse necessitates renewed efforts from all parties involved and the international community to break the cycle of violence and create conditions for meaningful negotiations. A two-state solution, with an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel, remains the most widely endorsed framework for peace. However, its viability is increasingly questioned, given the realities on the ground. The continued expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank makes a contiguous and viable Palestinian state increasingly difficult to achieve. Renewed diplomatic efforts are essential to revitalize the peace process. The involvement of key international actors, such as the United States, the European Union, and regional powers, is crucial to create the necessary political momentum for progress. Addressing the underlying issues fueling the conflict is paramount. This includes finding a just and agreed-upon solution for Palestinian refugees, resolving the status of Jerusalem, ensuring security for both Israelis and Palestinians, and ending the occupation. Ultimately, a lasting solution requires leadership and political will from both sides. It demands a willingness to make painful compromises and a commitment to peaceful coexistence. The alternative is a continuation of the current cycle of violence and suffering, with far-reaching consequences for both Israelis and Palestinians.